Turn 2.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us with examining early childhood data in MISchoolData. I'm Dr. Jennifer Parker, and I am joined today by Dr. Rhonda Provost. And you may or may not know, Dr. Provost her doctoral studies are in early childhood, so we're very excited to have her here today. If you are following along and you want to join us on the slide deck, we are at tinyurl.com/MSD-EC20. And you are able to access the slide deck. And these resources are part of our Train the Trainer network. So if you're not a part of that network and would like to join us, feel free. These materials are able to be used under a Creative Commons license. So feel free to use what we share with you today. So this series is part of our ISD Leadership Train the Trainer network, led by myself and Dr. Provost, as well as Christy Martin and Kathy Miller out of Macomb and Shiawassee. And this is a part of a larger initiative of over 600 educators that bring PD to our state. It is led by a regional advisory, so based on the map, wherever you are, today's broadcast, as well as lots of other broadcasts that we do and other PD things that we do across the state, are led by regional representatives. So if you're looking for more information or more good stuff, check with your regional representative for MISchoolData. Lots of PD opportunities after today. If you like what you see today, join the Train the Trainer network. There's also lots more in our webinar series going statewide through the end of May. There is a new PD toolkit out on the MISchoolData.org redesign site, as well as monthly news and notes or talking points for school leaders that are a publication that come out. So within the slide deck is lots of additional resources for you to join us in MISchoolData land. The purpose of today's session is all about accessing the MISchoolData portal and knowing where the early childhood information is. We're going to explore that early childhood dashboard. We're going to make some connections to other areas of the portal if you're an early childhood director or educator, and then we'll challenge you to use what you learned today to transfer it into your professional practice. We'll actually go about it in 3 different ways. We'll start with the define section, where we'll talk a little bit about the portal itself and some of the new features. We'll connect that to some of the ways that you can actually get into the system and use some of the secure resources. And then lastly, we'll take a look at some of the key areas of the portal that will impact or be interesting to you as an early childhood leader. So we'll get started with talking a little bit about the portal itself. Now, for most of you, if you are not familiar with the portal, it is the Michigan official source for Michigan school data or education data. It's got many, many reports in it. It pulls from a variety of sources. There's lots of acronyms there like the FID, EEM, GAD, STAR, REP, etc. Lots of our state data systems all feed into the MISchoolData portal. So you'll be able to get in and see charts. You'll be able to see tables. If you have secure access, you will be able to see data to the student level. But basically, it is an overview of educational data in the state of Michigan. The data, as I mentioned, does get pulled in from a variety of sources. It has 2 different ways that you can view the data, and there is both secure as well as public access. You may be looking for the old site if you are still interested in seeing what the previous version of the website looks like, or perhaps you're interested in some historical data. You can still access that for about a month or so. Legacy.myschooldata.org will bring you back to the previous site, and you can see some historical data. Now, that being said, a lot of the data will be transitioning through the pinhole or through the peak hole into the new site. So the MISchoolData redesign site actually will be pulling from that old site, but you are able to see it if you're more comfortable in the legacy site, legacy.myschooldata.org. The new site now owns the myschooldata.org domain. There is a quick overview if you have not gotten into the redesign site and done any playing, a quick overview sheet, a how-to sheet that you're welcome to use. It'll talk you through how to use main menus, where to get support, where you sign in, how to search for things, some of the new menus and personas, which are called specialized home pages. You'll also be able to use the map feature and the search features that have been very popular in the redesign site, as well as some updates on what's trending or what's new in MISchoolData land. Now, to get access to the MISchoolData portal, you're going to actually have to have a MyLogin third-party account. If you do not have a MyLogin third-party account, you need to go to MyLogin third-party and create one. What happens after that is you will also contact your ISD, who is in charge of coordinating accounts, and your ISD technical administrator will go in, look for you in the MyLogin third-party list, and then attach your MISchoolData login to your MyLogin third-party account. It's a little bit more complicated than it used to be, but you'll still be doing that FERPA HIPAA compliance. You'll still be working with your ISD or your local technology administrator, but make sure you have a MyLogin third-party account before you get started with that. There is both a public and a secure side in the MISchoolData site. If you are not familiar with the secure access, you must be a PK20 educator who actually has a reason to be in there or is connected to students. Usually it's K-12 educators that are able to see to the student level. One of the big stars here that we've wanted to bring to your attention is one of the great things that Dr. Provost is going to show you is the third grade assessment outcomes for early childhood. You will not be able to see that unless you have requested a secure login from your ISD after you've got your MyLogin third party, and you need to specifically request access to the third grade assessment outcomes. So we've started this slide. This is something that is a specific request to you wearing that early childhood leadership hat. Make sure you specifically ask for that permission to be enabled on your account with secure access. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Provost to talk about what's new in MISchoolData.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending today's session. We are going to move into some of the features that are new in the portal, in the redesign portal. With the redesign efforts, there have been new ways to explore data and tools that are available. We have new features with the navigation bar. We now have persona landing pages. There are new featured reports, and we'll share some of those samples today with early childhood, and our new menu bar and navigation process. So first of all, we're going to start with the connections. At the top menu bar, there are 4 different pull-down menus, and the first one is the connections. And connections is really related to all of the pertinent associations connected with our MISchoolData portal and our partners in our education entities. So for example, if you need to get to the rep report, if you need to get to the BOSS Secure website, if you are working on your FID or your SID and all of our wonderful acronyms of our reports, even including the Michigan Data Hub, there are links now in the portal right from this pull down menu, and it'll take you one-stop shop right directly to that area. Next, we have our education map. Here it's illustrated with an example of the Michigan map, and there's graduation caps there to show you all of the entities, the school districts, LEAs, PSAs in Michigan, in our wonderful state. And we've also captured an example at a local level of an education map. For this purposes of this presentation, the example is represented with Jackson Public Schools. With this education map, it'll give you quick facts about Jackson Public Schools or any school that you select. It's going to give you information related to student count. What is the economically disadvantaged percentage for the school? What about students with disabilities? What is the pupil teacher ratio? It also will highlight related locations, what districts are in that particular ISD, what schools reside in that ISD, where Jackson is located. And then it will also allow you to explore and compare. And that's one of the new features that we're really excited about with the education map. Next, we have the help and support, or the help. It provides help and support, and also the professional development toolkit. And as Dr. Parker mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, this is where all of our Train the Trainer and any professional development opportunities that will be coming with the MISchoolData portal. That's where this will be housed for access to our users. Now keep in mind, you will have a login to be able to obtain this. This will not be readily available to the public, but the toolkit will be available for you as trainers. Next, we have the new search feature. With this feature, you're also able to locate and expand results. So for example, if you are looking to look at maybe college students by graduating class, you want to see what their college progression would be, you can type in GRA and this is what you will find. It comes down with grades, grad dropout rate, and then the locations that could be associated to this particular connection. So that's the new search feature. Next, we're excited about sharing with you our new, what we are calling menus and landing pages, and we'll talk more about landing pages later. But basically, one of the new features on the menu bar is the dashboards and education focus areas. Early childhood, grade K-12, student subgroups, post-secondary and workforce are also part of those tabs. You will not see with the redesign a tab for special education because that falls under the K-12 grade menu. And we will talk more about that later. But when I think of special education, I don't like to think of it as just a place. It's really a service that children are receiving. And when we look at the whole child, it's really part of the whole K-12 grade level. Next, underneath that, we have new personas. And our personas are designed for educators. They're really quick one-stop shops for parents, for policymakers, in the media. And these were really designed for those particular stakeholders in particular. Next, we have what we call our navigation bar that is part of what we have now as landing pages. So with the redesigned efforts, what you will see is a number of data points and reports that are available. Also, when you pull down a particular menu, what you will see on a continual basis is the most popular reports that are currently being hit on the dashboard, what's trending now, what's coming soon. Those will be populated at any time you pull down that main menu. So again, this is our new landing pages with our menu bars. And then next are featured tools and what's trending now. What are some of the new feature dashboards? And this really allows our users with direct navigation, just like with the personas, and provides explanations of important tools that are available. And it also allows you to be updated frequently as information is posted. So for here we have trending now, student enrollment, staffing information, retained and grade. And then you can see if you hover over the view report, that'll allow you quickly to access that report for that particular area that's currently in the know for the time that it's being shared. And then our what's new with the pinhole report. So as Dr. Parker mentioned, for a short window of time, the legacy site we're referring to as the old site will be available for users for just a limited time, probably within the next 5 to 6 weeks that will disappear. But really when those reports from that old legacy site come over, they come over through a pinhole so that those data points are still available in a historical perspective from the site. So from the old site to the new site, we have interfaced those reports along the way with the redesign. And then another feature that's available is comparing schools and districts. And I think you saw a little snapshot of that when we looked at Jackson Public Schools and the opportunities that we could continue to search if we were looking at comparing schools and districts. So this is just an example where you can select up to 20 locations now across Michigan, and you can compare on a variety of topics. So that's a new and exciting feature that's available.
All righty, well, thank you, Dr. Provost.
Welcome.
I'm going to take us into the dashboards and education focus areas, which are our next section. And if you're an early childhood educator or leader, you may be interested in some snapshots of districts where you're servicing. The dashboard and education focus area is the first stop on the menu across the top bar. And it has a landing page, and then it takes you into dashboards or education focus areas. So I'm actually on the landing page, and you'll see that the dashboards are listed here as well as those focus areas. When you come into dashboards, a couple that you might be interested in and we'll come back to are the parent dashboard or the education dashboard or our schools at a glance. So these are nice 30,000 foot views that you can provide or you can take a look at with regard to each district. The focus areas actually are where you might come if you were interested in more detailed data with regard to their accountability, their school grades, their index, or et cetera, or their success rates after high school. So with that, I'm going to leave the dashboard and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Provost to talk a little bit about what we all came for, which is early childhood.
So I'm very excited to share with you, as Jen had mentioned, I did quite a bit of research regarding early childhood, in particular the GSRP program. But the excitement of this is the opportunity that this presents, all of this data presents to future programming for local districts. So if you are an elementary administrator, understanding what's happening in your early childhood programming, whether it be at a remote site or whether it be those programs being offered in your building, you have quite a depth of information here that would be very helpful in your planning. So we're going to start with the landing page. As I mentioned, when you pull down the landing page and you click landing page, we have an arrow there to the right. This is what will be displayed. This is all of these are screenshots for you today, but this is what you will see. And it will underlying all of that will be all of these submenus that will provide you with a snapshot of this is what this report means. So I'm going to walk you through those reports today. Our first stop is going to be with the early childhood program participation. Now, in the past, this was called the child count report, just to give you an FYI if you were familiar with this from the past. In this particular report, you can select this by ISD, county, or early childhood service provider. And then what ISD it's located in, and then you go to the blue button and you hit update report, and then this report will populate. What I've done for purposes of this presentation today is provide you with a screenshot of that early childhood program participation. So our next slide represents our count by program. It's displayed in a percentage of, it's displayed with the total student count. And it's a bar chart. And when you hover over those blue bars, basically it's going to give you only up to 2018-19 data has been updated at this point, but it's going to provide you with the number of students that were in child care subsidy, how many were in early childhood special education. Again, this is a snapshot report at a state level. However, you should be able to search this by your ISD or your local district as we move forward with our data being updated. And again, this is in a snapshot review. The next I have for you is this line graph, and this is displayed by count again. I just wanted you to be able to see the differentiation of the reports that we have available in the portal. And this could be of particular interest because of our growing number of students that are eligible for state-funded programs in Michigan for early childhood. And we know that that number has grown exponentially over the last few years, which is a good investment for Michigan. But keep in mind that these are not parochial data. This is not parochial data. This is not child care center data for private practice. These are all state-funded programs. And we'll go over those in detail in the upcoming slides. So this is just a display by count. You can also display this information by chart. So when we were looking at redesign efforts, some of the conversations that we had, some of the reports gave you a student number, and then when you were maybe displaying it back in a presentation, you may have had to convert that to a percentage if you were looking at percentage, or vice versa by student count. So these reports now are wonderfully done in both platforms. So this is a display by percentage. Next, we're going to move into, I mentioned about special education being within our K-12 environment now. And with the continuity of service and special education, this explores basically two different pathways. We have the service pathway, and we also have the service comparison. And it really looks at these children that have been in these programs, and you can see as a elementary leader, as an elementary school improvement team, you're able to see what programs these children have had prior to entering kindergarten, which is a very nice data point that you have for conversation and services. So we're going to look at the first report that's for the it's a snapshot report, and it's basically called the service comparison report. And it provides you with information that include birth services prior to kindergarten. That could be a program such as early on. It could be an early on with the MMSE, which is basically special education only. It could also be children that have had 0 to 3, and then your 3-year-old program, and then maybe these children eventually move into either a Head Start blend or a GSRP in a Head Start blend. So this is giving you data on a statewide level. And as you can see, we had 90,000 students in the 2018-19 school year. So again, this is just a snapshot report. And then below that, you can also see, Jen, where they can filter the report. I placed that in there for that purpose. So where you see those arrows, you can actually do filtering with these reports in any of the reports across the board with MISchoolData, including early childhood. And then next we have the snapshot report for service pathways. And so this is the path that children in Michigan from birth to 3 years old, 3 to 5 years old, the ECSE, and then kindergarten through 3rd grade. So you can see this trajectory of children being in a public school setting for this duration of time, which is very helpful for placement and services when children enter the kindergarten level in K-12. All right, next we're going to move to K-3 absenteeism and early childhood participation. And in the past, this was called early childhood absenteeism. So we have a new name. Basically, this is a great report to show absence rates for these children. So when we looked at these 90,000 children that, say, for example, were in the service pathways, of these 90,000 children, we now have tracked their absent rates over the duration of their participation in early childhood. So this is another great example. Now, again, what you have about this report, those are at the local level. I'm giving you the statewide so that you can actually see the graphs and charts that are related to this particular area of the early childhood portal. So this information is for the absenteeism. It's displayed in a snapshot report in a box plot, and it's going to tell you what the absent rate was for these particular students. And it begins, okay, in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. Again, we're capturing these children from when they were in early childhood with their UIC, and it's tracking them through these various grade levels when they become 3rd graders. So this is a great indicator of what their attendance, the actual results of their attendance. Next report is a trend report. And this is for also K-3 absenteeism, a different way to display the report. For purposes of this webinar today, I have only captured kindergarten through 1st grade, but this actually goes all the way to 3rd grade for these particular students. And look at, we have a soon to be 6-year trend of this data. And we also know, like I mentioned, that our investment in early childhood programs has improved, increased over the last couple of years. So this data is very valuable to teams. And, you know, we usually see in trends, we usually see if they were having absence issues is in early childhood, the trend is usually similar when they come into the K-12 environment. All right, next we're going to navigate to the participation by kindergarten class. This was formerly in the previous legacy site under kindergarten count. And this basically is showing us the number of kindergarten students who were reported as participating in early childhood programs prior to entering kindergarten. Again, this report you can put in your school or ISD, hit the blue button for update report, and you should be able to extrapolate your data at the just the ISD or local level. Our first capture of a report, this is a snapshot report. It's called Child Count by Early Childhood Program. It's represented in a bar. And you can see of the, let's see here, statewide, we've got a number, I think we're that 90,000 number, but you can see where there's representation for early childhood special education, early on, Great Start Readiness, and then the Great Start Readiness and Head Start blend. Oftentimes, when we've done this presentation, we've had questions about why isn't there just the Head Start? To my knowledge, that still depends on ISD and how the Head Start is reporting. They should be reporting these with their UIC numbers. However, that varies across the state. So we can't really speak to that, but for the blend part, it is required, again, for statewide programming. And then just another example in this line graph, this is a trend report for that same duration of time. Next, I'm going to move to the pathways to kindergarten. Pathways to kindergarten is what pathway did they take to get to kindergarten? Very, very simple. It was also represented in the same title in the legacy site. So we're going to look at a report there for pathways. This is an area type chart, and it will show you if there were no early childhood programs reported, with the GSRP program, the early on, the ECSE, and Head Start, and then if there were any DK. So we are tracking DK now at the K-12 level, because some call them young fives, some call them transition kindergarten. If they have a UIC, they're reported in head count, and the reports will be generated. All right, I know I'm moving quickly. And then the last item with the pathways, just to point out again, you can filter these reports. This is an example on any of the MISchoolData reports that are provided. You have the filtering ability when you are live on the site to be able to download these various areas for a particular purpose that you may have. And then last, I'm going to spend, as Dr. Parker mentioned, if you do not have, if you are an early elementary principal, elementary team leader with your school improvement team, you probably would want to have access to this, and go back to that slide that referenced it. I can put that in the chat when I'm finished here, so that you can obtain access to all of this data. This data does require a login because obviously it is driven down to student level. So with this, we have two areas of the portal for assessment performance and for assessment comparisons. Now, we are all aware that our third graders last year, even though it was under the third grade reading law, they did not take the statewide assessments in 2019 school year due to the global pandemic. However, if they had taken it, this is the report settings for assessment performance that you would see. And all of those, if you hover over those arrows, that will allow you to begin your sort and your filter so that you're able to obtain that data for those children that took the M step in third grade and were participating in early childhood programs. Please know that the reports will also tell you where they obtained their early childhood education, as well as if they were school of choice or out of your district and new to your district as students. And then the last one is the snapshot for the assessment comparisons. Exactly the same type of process for report settings, just put in your location and you should be able to generate these reports with a secure login for that particular category of third grade assessments. So with that, I will turn it back over to Dr. Parker, who will move into applying K-12.
Thank you, Dr. Provost. And as I am moving through, you did a really fabulous job, Dr. P. And if you guys have questions for her regarding the early childhood data that you saw, go ahead and add those to the chat. I am going to continue through our broadcast by moving next to the K-12 section of the portal, which as an early childhood lead, you may be looking to make some connections beyond the early childhood program that they have been enrolled in. Now across the top bar menu is that K-12 section. Here are these sub-menus, as well as the most popular, the recent updates, and the upcoming. This K-12 menu looks a lot like the early childhood menu, but it has more features and functionality with regard to the K-12 application. So there is a landing page for K-12, just like there's a landing page for early childhood. And this is a great place for you to do one-stop shopping about some of the most popular hyperlinks or inquiries that you may want to run to connect your students to their K-12 performance. It navigates in a similar manner to early childhood. Again, you'll locate it on the main menu. There will be sub-menus and there will be reports that you can run. The mini menus, which are here, actually have a caret feature right here that you can collapse and expand. So don't get tricked if up here in the top right-hand corner, if that collapses, you can drop it down and you'll have that inquiry menu at your fingertips. The sub-menus on K-12 are definitely of interest to you as early childhood leaders. You may be interested in that special ed connection beyond the early childhood special ed. And again, that is located in the K-12 menu. You can look at annual public reporting, continuity of services, the data portraits, as well as download some additional data files if you have secure access. Now, there are also some subgroups in a brand new menu out there called Student Subgroups, which was not on the legacy site, which also might be of interest to you. You'll notice when you come to the Student Subgroups, it'll drop down and there will be some of the most searched subgroups that pop up on the Student Subgroup landing page. Some of the most popular reports to run in the subgroup menu are economically disadvantaged, or foster care, or English learners, migrant students, students with disabilities. So these are some common reports that you may be able to disaggregate down to the interest that you may have with the connection to the early childhood program. We've given you an example of running a subgroup economically disadvantaged report. Again, you can either use that search feature by typing it in, keying it in, or you can use the filter features on the left-hand side as well as this menu. So we've just given you an example of what that looks like. Now, I'm going to shift gears. I've shown you the K-12 and I've also shown you the subgroup menu. I'm going to shift gears now to the early childhood hat that you would wear with regard to parents or parent conversations or parent questions that they might have with regard to their students and their transition to kindergarten. We know that some of our parents are very actively involved in picking schools or choosing a place for them to send their students where they can connect and have some continuity of service. So by sending your parents to the parent dashboard, they can actually get a feel for the district. They can have a 30,000 foot view of the school district that they live in and some of the services that are provided there. Now you can access the parent dashboard by going to the dashboard menu in the top left-hand corner. You'll come into the parent dashboard and there are 5 areas across the top for the parent dashboard. You can search by school or you can use the map feature. You can also come into the state overview and find out about early learning or engagement, effective educators, equity, exit ready, and efficacy, which many parents are interested in. What are some of the early learning opportunities for the districts that we're choosing? When you come into this third submenu of the parent dashboard, it operates a lot like the dashboard home does. You're able to go down to the building level or you can go into the map to search by district. The fourth menu within the parent dashboard just has some contact information. And the last one is the dashboard help if you need some additional frequently asked questions or glossary terms. Now, to dig deeper into the parent dashboard, once you get in there and find the district that you're looking for as well, or down to the building level, the main section is you've got your main menu on the left, you've got your demographics, and then you've got some of these key performance indicator graphs that'll tell you a little bit more about the performance of that district and their student population. There is a school services and offerings that many of our parents are very interested in. This is the first one on the main menu of the parent dashboard. They want to know, hey, does this school have after school tutoring? Do they have music? Do they have tutoring? Do they have math, gifted and talented programs? So as you're counseling some of those kindergarten parents and they're looking for a district or whatever, finding out what's offered, they can come to school services and offerings and run the district that they're in to find out what programs might help connect their child. There's also a student data section where you can find out about behavior and progress and graduation rates, etc. And you can also look at the staff information from a parent perspective. And as Dr. Provost mentioned, there's a comparison feature in the portal. This is kind of plays a little bit off of here in the parent dashboard. We know that parents look at the compare feature a little differently than educators do. And they might want to look based on what are the kids that are most like my kids, or what is the closest to where I live. So you can look by characteristics or by distance when you're looking at the parent dashboard. And so with that said, I will leave it back to Dr. Provost, and I will come back in to check the chat box to see if there's any questions, and turn it over to you, Dr. Provost, for our closing.
Sorry about that. I turned my mic down. In closing today, we would like to thank you for joining us for today's session related to early childhood. We hope that we've covered a number of areas for you, not only regarding the early childhood specifics of the portal, but the other areas that are vitally as important as early childhood leaders or elementary leaders in your building or districts that you're servicing with early childhood and early education. Any further guidance that you may need regarding data digs, those will be forthcoming with our Train the Trainer network and our professional development toolkit. We also highly encourage you, as Dr. Parker mentioned at the beginning of this webinar today, reach out to your region who represents a regional advisory membership. There are leads in all 5 of the regions. Each region has 2 leaders, and you can see the representation there in our contact list. So please reach out to them and they can provide you with additional resources or help in terms of navigating the new redesign portal. We also have, as Dr. Parker mentioned, a number of webinars scheduled for this year between now and May. And we've posted here at a snapshot what we have through January. However, you can access the link at the bottom, and that will take you to the entire webinar series that we have had since August, I believe was our first launch. So feel free to access those. If you are interested today in obtaining sketchies for this webinar, the unique session attendance link, please access that. We have a little bit of a snapshot there of what that looks like once you get into the document, and fill out the information that's required for the sketchy application, and you should be able to obtain that. And contact information, please reach out to Angie Churio here at Macomb ISD. For more information, please feel free to follow up with our MISchoolData.org, visit the Professional Development Toolkit. Our talking points are posted every month in that area now that we are live with the redesigned site. We also have contacts if you need any technical questions answered. That would be at the CEPI Help Desk. The MyLogin third party, we still are getting requests for those. We have a link there for help with that. And then any logins, please contact your technical contact at your ISD or agency. And then, of course, if you have any TTT questions, Dr. Jennifer Parker or Kathy Miller, who represents Shiawassee ISD, is one of our ISD partners. So with that, we thank you for attending today. We're going to stay on if you have questions, want to have open dialogue with us rather than using the chat. And again, we thank you, and please stay safe, everyone, and have a nice holiday.